Welcome back to the Book Reading Bitch Queens podcast. I'm Allie.
And I'm Sam.
And this week we're jumping into chapter 12 of ACOTAR. In this chapter we start out with Feyre waking up from her nightmare and, wanting to go on a little walk. And she's, making her little map that when Tamlin finds her.
Her sad little map.
I know. Her illiterate map. And Tamlin finds her and he hurt his hand, and then she goes and she bandages up his hand, and they have some interesting conversation. And then the next morning, she goes downstairs, there's no one around, and then she overhears Tamlin and Lucien talking, and we get the Heart of Stone line about Tamlin. And then she gets caught, and she basically makes something up, and she asks Lucien if he wants to go for a hunt. He says no, and then so she's there to hang out with Tamlin, and then they're walking down the halls, walking to the study, which she'll go to in the next chapter. But yeah, it's their little conversation.
Yeah.
It makes it sound like a lot happened. It really is not that much that happens in this chapter, but
I feel like I don't know if I have full thought. I have a couple of theory type stuff that came from this. But a lot of it is just I have some questions, I guess.
Okay.
I think that this is one of the first chapters that we see where Tamlin is useless. That he's incredibly passive. He doesn't want to do anything about the Amarantha problem. And even Lucien calls him out for it. And I'm just, I don't know. It feels, in hindsight, it feels questionable.
Because you think Lucien wouldn't question him like that?
No. I think that it's why is he so reluctant? Why is he so passive? At some point, and we'll get to it, but he's just and this too will pass. What? Since when are you fucking zen, my dude? You're so uptight. How are you gonna be and this will pass too? No, it's been 49 3/4 years, my dude, and you haven't done a fucking thing. And when Lucien calls you out about it, you're just watch yourself. What? No. Watch yourself, my man. Go do something.
Yeah, that is interesting. I don't know how you go that long with I'm a procrastinator, but not 50 years procrastination. Crazy.
I guess if we were immortal, maybe 50 years procrastination wouldn't be that weird. But
yeah, it still seems insane.
It just seems so selfish. And
yes,
we know that Tamlin's selfish. That's fine. But it just seems it's one thing to damn your own house, your own court. It's another to damn an entire island.
Yeah. Well, and I wonder if he just doesn't think that, maybe he doesn't realize the full scope. Not to make excuses for Tamlin, but could it be a thing like that where he doesn't understand how bad it is? But because Lucien's this shit's bad. So, I don't know. But
although I do have, I read a theory today, and I don't know how much I agree with it, but in this chapter it made me think of it, and we'll get to it. But I don't think that Tamlin is ignorant to what is happening.
Oh, okay. Wait. Oh. Well, is this part of the Amarantha mate theory?
No, because he says it right there, and right, I know we'll get to it, but he says it don't act like I don't know what's going on in my own, on my own estate, what could be lost, what has been lost. He kind of snaps at Lucien and is very aware of the goings-ons. I don't know.
The only thing that kind of makes sense would be maybe if he's actually evil. He actually was working with Amarantha the whole time, and
what if he has his own Velaris?
Well, I think he would live there, to be fair. He wouldn't be moving around the manor all the time.
But what if there's something that he's keeping so secret and we don't find out, and that's where he's not on border patrol.
Motherfucker.
He's doing something so secretive and so protective that Amarantha can't find out, and so he's just well, let the rest of Prithian burn, because I mean Rhys is kind of in that same space.
Yeah, he would be like
Now
the
that would
bad
piss me
version of
off.
what Rhys is doing.
Yeah, that would kind of piss me off because then you'd be like, Rhys already did this. This is stupid.
Yeah,
But
but they are kind of like they're like two sides of the same coin, so it almost like makes sense. Like they have all these similarities, and they both have secret cities.
well, and I don't know if it's a full secret city, but I could see Tamlin.
Secret family.
Yeah, I could see Tamlin hiding something, but I feel like his motivation would have to be more selfish. That like,
Well, okay, because what if it's like the original myth of Tamlin is that he like gets with some whatever like, and he like has a kid with her, right?
mhm.
So maybe that just played out, and this is just another girl. Like, what if there is that the original myth is like already happened, and that's part of that's
that
crazy.
he actually fell in love with her and he didn't want her to like break the curse because
Oh no, I don't mean like
oh
I mean it more like be like whatever he's hiding. Like maybe he had a kid with
okay.
that person, and
Mhm.
that's his. He's not hiding a city, but he's hiding
I love
a
that
family or a
none
child.
of this is even remotely in the book, and we're just
Zero
making,
textual
we're
evidence.
making shit up left and right.
So okay, you can say that because I saw some things that show Tamlin as being like the polar opposite of Rhys, and they have a lot of similarities. So you could almost say that because they're set up like that, anything Rhys does, or a lot of things that are part of Rhys's characterization, you could almost go the inverse of that could be is fair game to assume that Tamlin could be like that because of the way they've been set up as like this weird duality. So I mean, it's definitely still a stretch, but hey, we're stretchy little bitches over here, and we're gonna like this is what we do. Yeah.
Well, and it's not like Tamlin wouldn't be able to hide his thoughts from Rhys. They've known each other for 500 years.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Does Feyre ever feel his shields? I don't remember her ever like. Maybe she wasn't good enough at it then. Or...
Doesn't try to go into his mind. I think she accidentally does it with Lucien and then purposely does it with Lucien.
Yeah, because I always think about I'd be curious what Tamlin's shields are like.
That's also some more evidence that Lucien is not Tamlin in disguise.
Oh yeah.
I feel like she would. Yeah, I feel like she would be able to recognize that fucker's brain.
No, I think when we talked about that theory originally, we acknowledged that would kind of blow it. Yeah. Wow. Well, all that before literally the first sentence. That's awesome. The only thing I did know like she's doing the exits thing, so it's like, you know, with our Maslow thing, she's sort of almost like going through the steps of being in that bottom tier, but she's truly not. She's not. She's like whatever. Even actually, I think the fact that she's like sort of thinking about reading shows she's in the next tier, and she's thinking about admiring the paintings and stuff.
Is this the first time we find out that she can't read?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So this is it.
Yeah.
Chapter 12, we finally find out she can't read.
Yeah. Oh, but we do see our first instance of prison. I just largely call it prison imagery associated with Tamlin. And because that's a good blanket catch-all term. Sometimes it's a feeling of trapped. Sometimes it's actually like cages and stuff. In this case, it's on page 103 in that middle paragraph little chunk there. Wait. Oh, sorry, no. The first real instance is actually on the next page, but I will say I just noted when she talks about the end of this paragraph, she says, "If I were to remain here, it was essential to know the best hiding places, the easiest way out should everything go badly." That I wrote a little note that said she feels trapped. She's finding like maybe we think she's doing this because she still can't quite let go of that safety, you know, need to like always know her exits, and it's actually because she is maybe already feeling trapped. Because her instincts are like, this guy's a fuckhead. So I don't know. I kind of thought that the first instance is when Tamlin actually comes in, which makes sense, you know, because she says, "He continued toward me, stealing the air from the entire hall. He was so big that the space felt cramped like a cage." And I was like, you see this guy from like 50 feet away, and he makes you feel like you're trapped in a cage.
Yeah. Well, he is in his beast form, so there is that.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Still. Also, do we think that Do we think that Tamlin's claws come out like this, or are they like Wolverine style?
Oh, I pictured the second one. Yeah, like coming out of his knuckles, kind of.
Yeah, I pictured it that way too, and then realized that that doesn't make any sense for a beast, though.
But she
They
always says like under his skin. So is he going like this, and she can see it on his little fingertips? He's like pointing his like the tips of his fingers at her.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm like claws, not. I don't know.
I
Anyways,
just assume it's like mid transformation, so it's like it'll pop out of his skin and kind of like, clips his
that's
hands as it transforms or something.
yeah, okay.
That's what I pictured. It's weird. It's a weird. I've always thought
Yeah.
that was a weird thing to picture. I was like, why do you keep talking about his claws just under the surface? Like,
Well,
we're
and
in the
like,
middle.
are they're feline, right? So then they like don't break the skin when they come out,
I
right?
don't know.
They like protrude like a cat's claws, right? Like you can squeeze their paws and their little claws come out.
Oh no, I think it's purely and entirely. I don't think it's like any at all. Like, I always imagine it just magical. Like it's just like his hand is mid transformation.
Interesting.
Like, yeah. Then it would be interesting. Yeah, we can. Can you imagine?
Doesn't he like claw at her underpants at some point?
Yeah, I think he can like partially transform like all the time. So he's just like, let me shred this. I hear you like shredded panties.
Jesus
Ew, I hate
Christ.
the word panties. It gives me the ick. um, oh, before the Tamlin thing, though, I will say, um, she does finally say that she wants to do something with her life. More of that second tier evidence. I just think it's funny. Like, perhaps I figured out what I wish to do with it. It's just like a crazy thing to think, but also I've never been a starving 14-year-old, so I get it. And okay, the only other thing before the air, like the cage thing, is also sometimes Tamlin has a weird amount of stuff that's associated him with wind, and it's like there's not really that much evidence for it, but this is one of those things I just thought like it's interesting. A breeze announced his arrival. Maybe it's just like a little let's do a fun different kind, like maybe she had a different kind of thing with her writing. But to me, I go, I don't know, I thought of Lanthus, and I know that sounds insane, but the Lanthus, the wind god thing that Nesta fights in book 5, because he's like he's like a wind god, or he's like he commands wind, and
I feel like I have no idea what you're talking about.
really, he's the one that Nesta fights in the prison.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
And he's like a wind thing.
Missed that entirely.
But maybe he's always giving me Tamlin vibes. That's what it is. But also the wind, he's like an ancient from like another time period. So like when they had like sort of maybe even different magic. And anyway, there's a couple other things where there's this weird kind of association with like wind and kind of like snow actually too. But most like a lot of things with wind with Tamlin that make me think of that. But that's kind of nutso. So anyway, I just wanted to mention it.
There is a phrase in here, and it didn't make me think of more things about the book. It made me think about myself for a second, and I don't necessarily want us to answer this question, but the question that it made me think of was on the first page of the chapter. This bottom paragraph, it says, right, there's servants in the halls, and I worked up the nerve to look at the art, and then it says, and a part of me that spoke in Nesta's voice had laughed at the idea of an ignorant human trying to admire fairy art. And I thought to myself, whose voice is it in my head when I'm being a dick to myself? Like, just like taking me completely out of the book. And I'm like, because when she's being the meanest she could possibly be to herself, it's Nesta's voice, right?
Yeah.
And I was just like, fuck, who's my Nesta voice? And then get real questionable as if I don't have a Nesta voice or if it's just my own voice and I'm my own dick. But I don't know.
A lot of people's are their parents for sure.
Sure. But yeah, I thought it was really interesting that like
that is interesting.
It took me out of the book for a minute to be like, who's my own self-critic? Like who's the mean voice in my head? And I think that's what I love about reading in general is that it can spark those sorts of things, right? Like I could have read this and then ask this question of you and ask it of my husband and like have this whole conversation that has nothing to do with this story, but sparks these like really cool conversations.
I did like that part too. I was like, oh, that's a good observation. I was like, yeah, it's interesting that she notes that. I
think it's also a smart way to build Nesta's character when she's not actually on the page.
I think so too. Yeah, I think it's. I don't know. That was one of those things. I was like, that's a good writing choice.
Also, I was thinking, so I was listening to our episode 1, right?
Uh-huh.
We're talking about Elain, and we say it, and then I like it actually made me like think about what we said about how she becomes a seer after she's made, and we keep shitting on about how stupid she is. And we said in that thing is like, well, maybe she's always been a seer, and like that's why she just seems a little far off. But then I like actually sat with that for a second, and I was like, she's always been a seer. Like,
I would love that because then my theory is fed.
yeah, well, when they're just like, oh, poor Elain, like she's just not all here, and you're like, yes, because part of her is in a literally different time. Like,
Yeah, she
she
bought Feyre paints because she knew one day that bitch is gonna have to paint for a week before she can fuck.
uh-huh, yeah. So now I'm like I'm like want to go through this book and the rest of them with like the idea that Elain is more aware of all the things and has seen them before, or has that like weird intuition,
Mm-hmm.
or deja vu or something. But I feel like that seems to be a pretty solid theory, that like what we're going to get from her is her own realization that this like gut feeling or this spaciness that she's had has always been speaking to this power.
That's so interesting. And that's also, I kind of like, and I have no reason for this. I've just had like, maybe because Elaine becomes a seer. I've always kind of wondered maybe Mom Archeron is a seer. And then
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's why she made the bargain with Feyre, some shit like
Mm-hmm.
that. I completely just forgot my train of thought. Anyway, I think
Well, and
that's why it makes
Asriel's
sense.
mom was a seer. And I think that
Yeah.
that's what draws him to Elain, is that he sees his mother in her, which like is not a weird thing. Like lots of us marry our,
Yeah.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like like girls marry their dads and whatever fucking
Yeah.
Freudian shit. Um, so it's not gross, but I do think that
Yeah.
that's part of what his sort of attraction and protection
Mm.
is of her. That it's not really about her; it's about this connection to
His mommy.
his mom, and we know very little about her except for she was a seer and she was Reese's mom's friend.
I don't remember, but something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that she didn't do anything when her son was locked up and burned, but whatever.
I think she couldn't. I think she was. I don't know. I got the sense that she just was like very trapped or
Hmm.
something.
Yeah,
Um. Yeah, that is so interesting. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to re-listen to some of these episodes.
yeah, especially when like we're not done with this and then the book comes out and we're either vilified because we're like, hell yeah, I knew it, which but like the more possible
Yeah.
thing to happen is that like we're idiots.
Well, at
And
least we had fun doing
nothing
it.
and nothing we thought. And we're like, these are the worst sleuths in the world. Because they thought that she was gonna be the fucking high lady of the Supreme Court. And here she is not being that. Um
Yeah. No, I mean you got to have all the theories, and one of them will hit. Some of them will hit.
oh yeah. Um
Okay, so okay. But yeah, so I will say no. We talked a lot between that, but that's one of the first things I noticed with the Tamlin prison imagery, and I just thought, yes, because it's his beast form, but I still think, I think throughout this chapter she is constantly repulsed by him and doesn't. Did you notice that she is?
mhm.
And I think when we're reading it, we're supposed to be like starting to get horned up and like like thinking, oh, she's nervous, she's having butterflies. No, I think she is repulsed, and her instincts are screaming at her like, get away, but she just
Yeah.
doesn't trust those instincts, or she doesn't understand. I don't know,
Mhm.
but I read that, I think you're supposed to read it as like nervousness, and that's what's making it interesting for first time readers, but now I'm like, your body knows, your body does not like it.
Can I tell you my absolute ridiculous image of every single book that has like animal shifting in it? And it's like my problem with like when I go to write my writing of people or things that may shift into animals, I don't have that as of yet, but I don't know. That's not true. I do. But anyways, I'm just so worried that like in the reality of people shifting into animals, you just see that everybody's assholes. That like Tamlin comes in his animal form, which is massive by the way, and he just like turns his little feline body around and it's just like cat ass. And you can cut this if this doesn't make any sense or is ridiculous. And like, I'm a little hopped up on ibuprofen right now because I got a migraine, so maybe that's what's happening. But I'm just so concerned that everyone's just walking around like it's not a big deal and their parts are just out.
Well, it's not the same parts, right? It's like this other.
It has to be the same part. If his
if
hand
you stick
can
your
go
hand in someone's
mid-claw,
butthole and they transform, will your hand be stuck in their ass?
I will have to ask the horse that she rode to get to Prithia.
Which is not Lucien. Well, no,
It's not Lucien.
It still could be.
But
We
no,
should have made that a clip, dude.
I'm just so concerned that like I don't like. I'm just worried that if I were to ever turn into a shifter, I'd be like, well, fuck. Now
Where's my butthole? You gotta cover it.
Everyone's gonna see my parts.
I mean, it's magic. I think it can fix things like that.
It's like a nice little blurred out.
Does this come with a blurring effect?
Like, does Rowan just fly over people and just shit on their heads? Like,
yes.
Yeah,
he is grumpy. He would. He probably targets them.
Right? Like, oh, that's hilarious. I'm sorry. I know that's so fucking unhinged and stupid, and our listeners gonna be like, it's a good thing that they did this in episode fucking 13, because if she had said some shit like this in the first episode, I would not still be here. And again, you can cut it if you want, but
if I cut it, I'm still saving it as a clip. To be wielded at any time. I'm just kidding.
But I thought the same thing the first time I saw Twilight. I was like, let me get this straight. You gotta strip down so you don't ruin your clothes. So already you're naked, and then you turn, and then I'm supposed to be walking through the woods, being all hot and bothered by this giant wolf whose business I can just see.
I've never
and not associate it with my friend.
No, okay. My version of this is that when we were talking about like Feyre being asleep on the horse for 2 days, I was like, "What? Where did her piss go? Did she piss on this horse a bunch of times?" That was my like obsessive thought. Like, couldn't stop. I was like, but actually, did they disappear the piss from her body?
Yeah.
Did they? She probably wasn't like not on a
where the fuck is Violet peeing? Where's Violet peeing? She's on the back of a dragon for 20 hours. Where's she peeing? She just pissing down Taryn's fucking neck? Come on.
Ugh.
Like, you think Taryn's gonna let her just piss down his neck? Come on.
I know, boys have it so easy. They could just sneeze and piss.
And you know that Riddick's just standing on the back, just swinging his dick in the wind, peeing. Fine, I'm good with that. Zayden, maybe not so much.
Oh my, yeah, dude, actually.
But like, and then like,
maybe they land for a second, I guess.
Yeah, like, and does Violet not menstruate? I mean, I guess if she's like, her body is honed enough that she has like a low enough fat content, she won't, which is fine. I'm all here for that. But like, thank God we at least get a little bit of some cycle period problems in
Throne of Glass.
Well, yeah, well, and in here, well, not this specific book, but not that. Although that's weird that I'm like, she has a period when she's a fae, but not when she's human.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Mm-hmm. But you know, she'd be menstruating all over the place right now. She's a human. She'd be bleeding every month.
Maybe
that's like every 5 minutes for a fucking. Well, yeah, that's true. She also has no body fat content, but
yeah,
just saying, like. I know it sounds ridiculous, but like having to pee and having to deal with a cycle is absolutely going to make its way into my book. And people got to wash their parts before they bang because it's so gross to me. You're just like,
yes.
And I was just hanging out in a battle for 47 days and I haven't washed and I saw him and I just, nope, absolutely not.
No, my version of this is, whenever I'm watching like a movie and people are like walking through water in their jeans, I'm going, no, you're gonna die of frostbite the second you walk out of that. You have to get out, change your pants and change your socks, and make sure those dry fully, because this is how people die. And there's no way in hell you're gonna walk through that swamp water for 6 hours and be fine after. Your body will deteriorate. No. And that's the kind of
I'm like, do we not know how UTIs and yeast infections happen? Because it happens by walking through fucking swamps. That's how it happens. Like, I was just reading one where they like jump into a sewer and they're like up to their neck in human shit, and they just like get out and they kiss and they do, and I was like, what the
even Assassin's Blade is a little too far.
Yeah, but I'm like, and like, granted, they were like, it was mostly water at that point because they're flushing the sewers, but I'm like, mostly water is not, in fact, just water. And now, no.
Yeah, but
like, how? No.
Or I always think about, okay, in that action movie, yeah, maybe he made that jump, but did he rolled his ankle? For sure he rolled. That's a death blow, okay? These times, you roll your ankle, that zombie is getting you.
Oh, for sure.
Like, I'm so dead. I'm so annoying about it.
Like, so dead. If rolled ankles are the way that people die, I have died many times over.
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy how many ways you can die without modern shit.
Yeah. Also, I want to know why nobody has glasses. Everyone just can see. We can just see.
Well, maybe they're not looking at screens all day.
No, I was.
Oh yeah, you're blind.
I'm blind as fuck. And like, I can't write a character who can't see either. So like,
well, you just don't get to be like a sharpshooter. You get to be like an axe wielder. Yeah, or just swing.
You get to be the crazy old witch lady who has cataracts. That's me. That's me.
Yeah, if you're blind, just make up some magical power. I will say, okay, I had a lot of notes. All my notes right here are just about Tamlin repulsing her, like, but I'll kind of mention them as we go. Did you have like notes on like the page 104-5?
I kind of wondered. So his shirt is ripped, but his skin is not.
Maybe it already healed.
Except for, it says that the boss. Okay, here's my question. Right. One, it was like, can't he heal himself? And she says, like, that he can.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It says towards the, I suppose it was all they needed when they could heal themselves with their immortal powers, but this wound wasn't healing. And he says that the Bogge's something, right? Bite slows down the healing process. So then is the Bogge like getting into his fur, which then translates into his clothes being ripped, but his skin not being ripped?
I think my guess was that he bit his hand but scratched the rest of him. Okay. And maybe that's what it is. It's like only the bite is slow healing because it needs the venom or something.
All right. And he's already been able to heal the scratches.
Yeah. Or, you know.
Did you do your homework? Because this scene is also in a Disney movie.
You didn't let me do my homework. I'm just kidding. I'm just blaming him. No, I did not do my homework, but we will do it.
He gets hurt in the movie. He gets his
okay. Arm. Now that you say that, I am actually picturing that Beauty and the Beast scene. Yeah, I think I am picturing that.
Licking his arm, and she's like, "It's gonna be infected, you stupid fuck." And he's
and he has like the shredded shirt, right? I think that is what I'm picturing right now. That's so crazy. I'm remembering that from like literally 20 years ago. That's crazy. Okay, I will do that. Yeah.
Have you seen the picture where it's like, this is how it started, and it's a picture from Beauty and the Beast? It's like the, fluffy cinnamon roll, grumpy fucking whatever. And it's like, this is how it started. Like, this is how I got into smut. That's exactly my story. Beauty and the Beast was my top tier movie growing up. I had Beauty and the Beast Barbie dolls and bed sheets and sleeping bags and luggage and shoes and all the things. This has been my story since I was 4. I can still probably mimic the entire film.
That is so crazy.
Yeah. I have a question about this paragraph on page 105.
Okay.
It's the last paragraph before the little crossy do thing.
Oh. This paragraph made me cringe. Go.
Okay.
Or do you like it?
So no, I have questions. I have so many questions. So right, there's so he lifted his head and looked at me again, still and silent and weary, blah blah blah. He said, "There's a small infirmary." Now here's the paragraph. I wanted to tell myself that this was probably the most useful thing I'd learned all night. That there's an infirmary, and where it is that the most useful? I'm assuming.
Yeah.
And as a human, okay, but okay.
Yeah.
And then it goes on, and I'm like, why? But as I followed him there, avoiding the blood he trailed, I thought of what Lucien had told me about his isolation, that burden. Thought of what Tamlin had mentioned about these estates. Thought of what Tamlin had mentioned about how these estates should not have been his, and felt sorry for him. Where is this thought coming from? Both of them. She's walking around. She has a weird dream. She's trying to map out where she is, and the most useful information she's gotten so far is a locate. Well, it's not even the location. The information that there is an infirmary. Why is that the most?
Yeah.
Why is that in? Is it just because she's human?
Yeah, I think so. I thought that was an interesting, weird line too. But I mostly felt like the sorry for him. And to me, I just go, okay, you had to set up that they're gonna fall in love, so you're planting the seeds. It's a little bit loud of a seed. Like, I wish it was more subtle.
But I don't know how her thought goes here. Is it because he's hurt?
Yeah, like, I think it's because I think the fact that he's so, like, dead-faced kind of freaks her out, like, it makes her feel like, wow, he must be so having such a hard time that he's can't even muster up normalcy type of thing. I think that's what it is. Or, she's, like, maybe in his face, he looks very burdened, and she's just thinking about it, but I don't know. To me, I think, like, if we're gonna have to fuck Tamlin, we're gonna have to be, like, interested in his suffering and feeling compassionate for him. And to me, it just seems like this is one of the bridges to that. And I just wish I didn't see it. I wish I wasn't like, oh, here's a bridge. I wish it was more subtle. I think the dot dot dots don't help it either.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just weird. Like, again, if I'm only reading the dialogue, it's strange, right? Did you kill the Bogge? Yes. You're hurt. What is that? I thought I should learn my surroundings. You can't write, can you? No wonder you became so adept at other things. Where can we clean up this hand? There's a small infirmary. What? And somehow, like, in between that, I'm supposed to get the. I don't know. It felt weird and kind of disjointed and a little like, why do you feel bad for him? Like, he's a fucking fae, and he didn't have to hunt the Bogge. He chose to.
Oh no, I think she's not thinking like that. I think she thinks, oh, he has to hunt the Bogge because he's a protector of this land, and he must do that. You and I think we could be like, you don't have to do this, but I think she probably thinks he must have to do it.
And I guess when someone's hurt, I guess you feel bad for them.
Yeah, just like the pain. And I get this. You do get the sense that he's like very like dead faced and like if someone's usually like. I just feel like that kind of freaks people out in general when you're like very like, if you're mad, it's one thing. If you're happy, it's one thing. But when you're like emotionless and just totally dead, it's like kind of unsettling.
Well, it does say, right, where she's like, indeed, his hand was covered in blood, even more splattered on the floor beneath him. He looked at it blankly, as if it took some monumental effort to remember what he had even had a hand. And that it was injured. What effort of will and strength had it taken to kill the Bogge, to face such a wretched menace? And so maybe she's thinking that this deadpan, exhausted thing is because the Bogge was so hard to kill.
Yeah, I think that's what she thinks.
However, on the next page, I write that he has hunt vibes.
Where?
So down the last.
Oh, I remember this line now that you're saying that.
Yeah, he was still sitting on the table, still straddling the inner line between here and now, and wherever he had to go in his mind to endure the fight with the Bogge.
Oh no, that's not the line I was thinking of.
So,
there's a line that says something like, I'll find it eventually, but sorry.
But like, do you remember when Hunt would come back from his shit and he'd be all like deadpan and wouldn't talk?
Yes.
And, like, Bryce had to like get in the shower with him and like clean him off at some point. I'm wondering if, because you're saying like maybe Tamlin has to hunt these creatures, right? Or has a particular set of skills. Not to get all taken about it. But like maybe it's not that this was exhausting to do, maybe it's he doesn't want to do it.
Yeah. No, yeah, that I definitely get that feeling. And yeah, you're right, he does remind me of Hunt in that sense. I've always thought that he reminded me of Hunt because of the way that he says, the way that he, like, people talk about him being particularly good at fighting monsters in particular. But yeah, no, I think actually you're right. It totally reminds you of Hunt in the shower scene and him just trying to like burn his skin off.
Yeah.
But I think that's also because Hunt kind of feels bad, right?
Top tier scene, by the way.
Yeah, those are some of the
I like a washing scene. I'm weird. I don't know. That's a trope I like. I like a helping to bathe your person.
Because it seems sweet and like it's nice, you know. Like you probably like the nightmare scene in A Court of Mist and Fury for the same reason, right?
Yes.
Yeah. It's just like this kind of deep, like almost feels like a spiritual moment with like this person that you.
Well, like Rowan and
Very
Aelin,
human.
like Rowan helps
The
Aelin into the
bathtub.
pool in the bathtub when he sees her scars, but then like at some point she washes his hair and like jokes that he's as bad as a cat because he's like purring basically into her hand, and like I'm here. I think that Elain and Lorcan, I think they have a washing. Kale and what's her fuck have some washing happening. Like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't mind that at all. Yeah, I think if it's well done, I'll like anything. Honestly. Yeah.
It is a trope that will end up in a book I'm writing. All of our like listeners, hopefully one day will actually like want to read. First off, hopefully we'll have listeners, and then two, hopefully that will also be the group of people who will buy the book that I will, not might, will write. And they're gonna be like, there's so many little teasers that she's told me, and then like, you know, you're gonna read it, and then an editor's gonna read it, and they'll be like, fuck all that, get rid of it, and then the listeners will be like, what the fuck, you promised me bathtubs, and I'll be like, I was told not to do it.
Sorry, I had to edit out my bathtubs.
I actually can't write bathtub scenes very well.
I'm bathtub illiterate.
Oh,
yeah. Well, you can always just throw it in as a bonus chapter somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's pretty. It's the scene in my head is pretty crucial to like.
Okay. So
the thing, yeah.
We'll just make sure it's good. Okay. I will also say, you know what I thought in this scene? Something about the way that like I don't really know like as much about like abusers and stuff, but isn't this like an abuser thing to be like people walk on eggshells, but then he's also kind of like, even in this moment, it's not that he's like, he's tired, okay, he's tired and he's beat up, but it also kind of seems like he's sort of not like, I guess it seems like he's emotionally unavailable, or he's like, you know, I don't, maybe it's not fair to say that this particularly is abusive, even if he is generally abusive, but for some reason it just seems like, I don't know, like he just can never be emotionally available at the very least, or he can never be vulnerable.
This is the beginning of I can fix him.
Oh yes, yeah. Okay, well that's a classic cycle then too.
Yeah, because one, she literally has to fix his, like she's trying to fix his hand, like she's actually trying to heal him. She has been walking on eggshells. She doesn't really know if she hates him or is apathetic or whatever. And he's pretty much a dick and very cold and very emotionally unavailable. But this is the moment where I think the readers, because we're reading through Feyre's lens as well, the readers are supposed to be like, hell yeah, she's gonna fix him, because you know we're here for we're all here for that kind of shit. Some of us more than others, and so I think that's what we're supposed to get from Tamlin, is that she can fix him. when in reality she cannot, and he can't fix her, and really Reese doesn't fix Feyre either. She kind of fixes
Can't
herself.
fix people. Yeah.
Well, and like the person who is in need of quote fixing or growth has to be willing to put in that work for themselves, right?
Yeah.
And I think that that's why in the subsequent books why their relationship is so shallow, because the ways in which Tamlin even wants to kind of fix himself is just by filling that void with her.
Yeah.
And that's why he is so attached to keeping her
Around.
well, and keeping her isolated, because it's supposed to heal him and it's not, because that's not how you heal. But yes, I think we're supposed to want to fix him.
Yeah, no, okay, I think so. Okay, and then in that same moment though, in that top of 106, when I gathered what I needed, I tried not to balk at the thought of touching him. And then, I didn't let myself give in to dread as I took his hand, the heat of his skin like an inferno against my cool fingers. I don't know. Again, I'm just like, I think we're supposed to be like I don't know. I've also thought that SJM has an interesting like power kink or something. She's always like, he was so powerful, he could rip me apart any second, and that's hot. Like, I don't know. I've always been like, why are we talking about like being predator or like he looked at her with a predator's gaze. I'm like, is that hot? I guess. So I think it's supposed to be like that, but to me it reads as being repulsed. Like you don't want to, like, you should be like, I can't wait to get my hands on you. And then even his skin feeling like an inferno, like maybe that's supposed to be like, this is an infection and that's why it feels like that. But
well, and like balking at the thought of touching him, yeah, it feels more repulsive than fear. Like there's no balking doesn't speak of like trepidation to me, right? If she says like my hands shook,
yeah, she's
or
like, oh.
or like I tried not to make the like my swallow audible, which is a nervousness thing, right? That you're like but no, she's like, oh fuck, I gotta touch this guy. And he's not even in his animal form, right? Like, he's in his natural form. So like, yeesh. So then it's like, what is so repulsive about him? He's supposed to be beautiful, right?
Her instincts. She just knows he's bad news.
He's not her mate.
Yeah. Well, but do you feel repulsion for people before you meet your mate? I don't know.
Also, I have a whole slew of questions about how the fuck humans can be mated to Fae, which speaks to the Archeron sisters not really being humans.
Well, okay.
But we don't have to get into it right now.
Yeah.
But I did have a thought where I was like, that's a weird thing to just be like, born a human and now you're fated to a Fae.
I have a lot of theories about that. So yeah, we can talk about when we get to it.
Also, I think Tamlin's an idiot in this sentence, by the way. Tamlin seems like the biggest dumbass to me.
Where?
And it's so when he says you can't write yet you learned how to hunt, how to survive. How? Because an arrow is different than a pin. Like don't have plenty of civilizations have been able to hunt and didn't have a written form of writing. How the fuck are those synonymous with one another? You don't know how to write, but you learned how to kill. Yeah, motherfucker, because killing is stabby, and writing is a lot harder. Like, what?
Yeah.
Because I had a need to kill and survive. I didn't have a need to write. I'm not Hamilton. Writing didn't save my life. Fucking learning how to kill rabbits saved my life. It's a stupid
He even
question.
says to survive in a sentence.
You answered your own question, you fucking idiot. How much blood did you lose? How much poison is in your veins right now, you dumbass?
Yeah.
Like, you can't write, but you can hunt to survive?
What she should have said was, writing isn't essential for survival because you don't eat pens and paper, but you do eat things that you kill.
I just, like and even still, it's like such a straw man argument. This is me being such a fucking asshole about, like, building a thesis and an argument. Like, it's a straw man argument. You can't compare or use something that is not connected to the argument as your counter argument.
Yeah.
That's what he's doing right here. I know, I'm sorry, I'm like in the space, but like,
no. Yeah.
You can't write, but you can hunt. That's not a counter argument. That's not, you can't, what? No, that makes no, these are two completely different conversations. It's like, Tamlin's a Republican. This is a Republican question. Like, oh, you don't like tariffs? Well, but did you think that maybe, like, it's just it's such a, like, they're just two different things, Tam.
Yeah, it is weird. It's weird that he equivocated. What equates them? Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah, I think that's weird.
it's just so weird to me. Like,
I think it's just I think she said, I gotta establish that he knows that she can't write. Like, I don't know. To me, that's what this reads as, is like they need to talk about it a little bit. But like, I
so
wish
that he could be a bigger asshole when he gives her a fucking library.
Figure it out.
Like, what?
Well, maybe we don't know how
It's
she
like
acts. Maybe
giving
she
a
said,
blind person the Mona Lisa. It's fucking useless to them.
maybe she, okay, to be fair, it doesn't necessarily say that maybe she had been like, no, I want to sit in the library and I want to look at the books and use it and I'll teach myself. I don't want you to teach me. Like, maybe I could see her being like that, but
she
it's still
never
insane.
says that. And it's at the
it'd be
point
implied off camera.
when he figures out she can't read or write, that he takes her to the fucking study.
Yeah.
And then in the next chapter, which we're not there for, he's just like, toodles. And just leaves her there.
That's where, like, okay, my headcanon originally did go, oh, she must have demanded to be left alone. That's what that's very...
Maybe she did. I haven't read chapter 13 again. But still, I was just like, fuck,
yeah,
man,
crazy.
what a dick move to be like, well...
Yeah.
It's like taking someone who has their tongue cut out to fucking Cheesecake Factory. You're a dick, dude.
Yeah. Well, and actually, I thought it was an interesting parallel that, like, you know, first week with Tamlin, we go to the library. First week with Reese, also do the same thing, except he gives her, although he just gives her a sentence to write out. It's not like, right? Does he really teach her?
He gives her sentences.
But that's not like the same as learning to read and write. But maybe it would be too boring to do the real thing
too.
Yeah.
He gives her books.
Yeah. Well, and I guess she does know her letters.
He at least says, I'm going to teach you to read.
Yes.
And she's like, go fuck yourself. And he's like, nope, that sucks. Not going to happen. You're going to learn how to read because that's ridiculous that you can't.
Yeah.
And doesn't make her feel shitty about it. Tamlin kind of makes her feel shitty about it. He puts it in front of her and it's just like...
When he makes a poem out of the words she doesn't know.
I forgot he does that. What a fucking asshole, dude. Tamlin's such an asshole.
Yeah, I thought it was super cringe. Oh, one thing before that line, it just adds to my, you know, she hates his guts and doesn't know it yet. His eyes were a brand upon me as I finished cleaning the room, and the room became too small, too hot. And then later, every mortal instinct in my body bleated in panic at the thought of him being, like, powerful. And I'm like, I don't know.
But please
bleated like a sheep.
Yeah.
And being branded, like, it's so much yuck.
Yep. But please let me strip down to nothing and go and swim in a fancy little lake, and then I'm gonna fall in love with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I have Lucien questions on the next page. Well, so Lucien he says the quiet parts out loud, fucking finally, right?
Yes.
It's like, I just want to know what you think you're doing. And Tamlin goes, what are you doing? And me, by the cauldron, Tam, there isn't much time, and you're just sulking and glowering. You're not even trying to fake it anymore. And I literally wrote, finally, someone's fucking saying it out loud. Like, yes, say it louder, please.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was a mistake from the start. I can't stomach it, not after what my father did to their kind, to their lands. I won't follow in his footsteps, won't be that sort of person, so back off. What?
What are they talking about? Is he... Because presumably we think they're talking about him seducing Feyre?
Well, yes, that's what I said. Is he talking about seducing her?
Maybe they're already working with Hybern and they that's what they're talking about. Maybe we're just supposed to think it's about Feyre, but actually maybe Lucien this whole time has been trying to get him to go to Hybern to kick Amarantha's ass because it's better than doing nothing for 50 years. Okay, I would hate that because I love Lucien, but maybe.
But But in a place where it's Amarantha is the enemy, Hybern would be one of the biggest allies to try to fight against her.
She stole his book. Hybern. Why didn't Hybern just come kick her ass? I guess because he was like fine with her doing fucking around.
And so then then the price is what? That Tamlin has to support Hybern wanting to take back human
Yes,
land.
I think that's Oh yeah. That okay, now that you're saying this, yeah. I mean, I think I said it and but I didn't think it through until just now. I'm like, yeah, that actually is really what this sounds like.
So is the favorite thing a loophole then, where he's just like, we can get out of Amarantha without having to use Hybern, and Lucian's like, what are you doing? Like, we're running out of time. Just fucking pull the trigger on Hybern. Let him break the wall. Let's go kill this bitch and be done. And Tamlin's like, back off, dude. I'm not gonna do that. So then his plan is to seduce Feyre.
Okay, it would make more sense, and it would make Miss Infuri make more sense, and it would make him like seeming like he's doing nothing. Like maybe he hasn't been doing shit for maybe he's been working a deal for 50 years with Hybern, and that's so he actually has been doing something, and maybe that's also part of why he's
he's the one who's been weakening the wall for Hybern. The wall is on his land.
Yeah.
Maybe it's taken 50 years to look for the cracks in the walls and to convince Hybern to go on his side and to figure out how if they can use the cauldron against Amarantha.
Yeah, I just want to know what you think you're doing.
And he says, "By the cauldron." Where's the cauldron right now? In Hybern.
But that is just an expression there. But yes,
Still.
Yeah, because he actually says like you're for someone with a heart of stone, you're soft, and Hybern would be the thing that's like crazy.
Yes, because I don't even remember how Hybern comes into it. To be very honest with you, I feel like when I'm reading some of this, maybe I just need to pay more attention to the villains because I'm just like, bad guy, great, they'll die. Like, I feel like I need to pay closer attention because I don't remember. Like, I remember I don't know. I feel like I don't remember stuff. It's been a long time since I've read these the first time through. So I feel like some of these, like, like the actual backstory for Amarantha and how she came to power and what that that dynamic was with Hybern originally.
Yeah, she was one of his generals, and he sent her here to like test the fucking shit and stuff.
And then she got a lot of power. Yeah, and she got a lot of power and held it, right?
Yes.
So did that make her an enemy of him, though?
Yes. But also not the kind of enemy that he was like, I gotta go deal with this. Like the kind of enemy was like, well, she is fucking shit up. That's what I wanted to happen. But she's being annoying about it. Like that's what I
just wondering what Hybern's play was for 50 years.
I think they do say that some Kale, do you remember? Do you remember what Hybern was doing? Why he let Amarantha chill for 50 years?
No, I don't. I
think he was just gathering supplies. Yeah,
always planning to invade.
I think it said he'd been planning to invade for like 100 years.
Okay.
But, dude, okay, is this what you were thinking when you brought this part up? That it was Hybern?
No.
Okay, because this actually
I was just very confused as to what he meant by after what my father did to their kind, I won't do that. And I'm like, your father didn't seduce humans. So
well, in first read through, we probably think that Lucien's trying to kill her because he's been joking or teasing that the whole time, like, let's just kill her and be done with it, blah, blah, blah. And that's what you're supposed to think the first time. But second read through, actually, what the fuck are they talking about?
Well, and then when he says you're not even trying to fake it anymore, fake what?
There isn't much time. You're just sulking and glowering. Like the sulking and glowering means that you're not even pretending like things are okay. Yeah, that is really interesting.
And it's like it was a mistake from the start. From what start? The start when you started sending your sentries over to get killed by a girl that's bangable, or from some other from Amarantha in the beginning, from the war 500 years ago? Like, what is the start, my man?
Yeah.
And I think we're supposed to assume that they're talking about Feyre, but I don't really think.
Yeah, I don't think
might not be at all.
Dude, that's crazy. Okay, so
what if he's not? Hold on. What other lands did his dad fight against? The Night Court?
Well, I don't know exactly where the war was fought. If it was like were they on the continent? Is that where I think the fronts were in different places, maybe, assuming.
Yeah, but I'm trying to, I don't know. Now I'm trying to go a little too crazy right now, But I'm trying to think, because it's not specific. We're assuming they're talking about humans, right? But it says it was a
Yes.
mistake from the start. I can't stomach it, not after what my father did to their kind, to their land. I guess then it can't be a different court, because their kind doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I think he's definitely yeah, dude. Okay. That is so interesting. Okay, so yeah.
Well, and
maybe
then what Lucien says is even more confusing afterwards. Back off while you seal our fates with and ruin everything. I stayed with you out of hope, not to watch you stumble. What?
Yeah, and somehow the Bogge being on the lands is an indicator of. See, that's where it sounds like, oh, that's the blight. That's Amarantha's power is what's causing the Bogge to come on the lands and stuff.
But that might be why he's trying to push him towards Hybern, right? Like,
yes,
like Amarantha's got too much power. Let's fucking pull the trigger on this already. Like, if the human lands are what needs to be sacrificed for the rest of the world to be rid of this quote blight, then so be it, Tamlin. But then that makes Lucien an asshole.
Well, you said we talked before about how Lucien's the one who's maybe gonna betray, and that would point it. But maybe he feels bad enough, like maybe that's why he's not trying to get with Elain like so desperately, because he actually feels like shit because he would have killed. They would have killed her.
Mm-hmm.
And he's actually living in the lands that he would have fucking ruined.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, yeah, maybe. I mean, I hope that was the extent of his betrayal, and then he's not going to do any more betraying. Oh my god!
I just like back off while you seal our fates and ruin everything.
But that also implies that
this is such a loaded fucking
faith in Feyre. He doesn't think that he can seduce her, and that's what he means.
That's so stupid, though. That makes no sense. Literally, it makes zero sense. This is the easiest person in the world to seduce. I'm sorry. I'm going to be a dick for a second. This is the easiest. You feed her, you tell her she's pretty, you dick her down with some fake cock. It's really not rocket science. It works. If the curse is only that he needs to make a human girl who fucking hates Faye love him, easy peasy.
Yeah, I guess it does get into like depending on what you believe about love, and I can see Lucien having a very negative understanding of love, but yeah, I mean,
this is so simple though. Like, she's young, she's starving, she's abused in a certain way, like she has nothing. You don't have to do much.
Yeah.
Give her some safety, give her some food, tell her she's pretty, give her the things that she wants, like a fucking study she can't use and paints, and then just proximity.
Yeah.
Like the equation for love is not hard. I'm sorry. It's just not. Yeah. And maybe I'm an asshole because I'm married and I found it. But like, it's just really not. It's looking at the people that you're around and saying, which one would I be willing to have touch me? Cool. Narrow it down. And then just have conversations with them. You're going to end up caring for people if you're just around them.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can not balk at the idea of touching them, it makes it really easy to fall in love with somebody.
Well, yeah, that's really interesting because, right after the scene, Tamlin's kind of being nice guy again. Mm-hmm. He's like, so I always thought, Lucien talked to him straight, but actually maybe he's rejecting Lucien's fucking Hybern plans, and that's what's making him gonna try with Feyre real hard.
I feel like this could be one of those, like, there you are, I've been looking for you moments. Where, like, when we find out in chapter 54 that what he said to her the first time we see him in this book was like, oh my god, eye-opening, amazing epiphany, it's been here the whole time, blah, blah, blah. This is gonna be one of those in the worst ways. This is a foreshadow that we're not gonna get until book fucking 6 or 7 or 14 or whatever. And we're gonna be like, god damn it, the whole time Lucien was so on fucking Hybern's side. But but then what's he doing with Koschei right now?
Dude, this better not be true. I don't want Lucien. No, Lucien cannot be. No.
I don't think that it's an evil thing. I think it's the lesser of two evils for Lucien.
Okay, I can tolerate that kind of betrayal.
That's what I think this
Him
this
being a
is.
dumbass, him being stupid. Yeah, okay.
And it's already being held against him because they keep saying things like, right, Elain wouldn't be turned if it wasn't for you taking her to Hybern. So he already feels guilty regardless, but this would add to that guilt.
Yeah.
And so then the reason why he's keeping his distance from her, even though she is, so far as we know, his mate, is because of that guilt. Because he knows that, like, one, yeah, I took her there and put
Either
her
way,
through this thing,
that's part of it.
but I was also totally okay with forfeiting my mate for the lesser evil.
Damn.
Mm-hmm.
That's upsetting. I didn't know I was gonna be upset. I thought we were just gonna talk about Feyre getting the ick from her instincts with Tamlin. I'm just kidding.
But yeah, I don't, when he's like, I stayed with you out of hope. I wonder what that means.
Especially since, like, what we kind of think, like, you also, before we consider this, like, Feyre is the hope. They finally caught one. You should have hope now. Like, this is when you have the hope. But but that makes more sense when you read it like that.
Also, it kind of goes against the narrative that we know of why Lucien's there, right? Lucien's there because Tamlin took him in because his family was trying to kill him. So what do you mean?
He's an emissary to Hybern, actually.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
And like, not I stayed because I couldn't go home, and it's not Tamlin saying, I let you stay here because you're my friend and you were exiled from your place. Lucien is saying, I stayed out of hope, not to watch you stumble.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Okay, though, but, you know what's weird? Lucien goes to the fucking continent. But now I'm like, maybe he volunteered for that because he was like, oh, I fucked up involving Hybern in this. This was my old contact. Maybe he's known Vassa since before Feyre, and he goes, let's go fix the situation. I'll bring her in, and then maybe I can sort of redeem myself. Because that actually makes so much sense. Because how else? He's just gonna go find some random lost queen? No, he knew exactly where that bitch was. And it just took a long time to get her.
And now he is with her and Jurian, right, in the human realms, living at fucking his mate's ex-fiance's house.
Yeah.
He is doing hard penance.
Yeah. Okay, because Koschei just lets her go. Maybe
Once a month he can't hold her or some shit.
No, I think they said that he is allowing her to whatever, but maybe that's because Koschei was aligned with Hybern initially because he's aligned with the human queens, and maybe Lucien just lied to him and just fucking tricked him. Lucien said it's his favorite thing to lie.
Doesn't she turn into like a serpent monster or something for a while? And
she turns into a firebird. But I'm just thinking, like, okay, so Koschei just is like, let's let her go fight in a war. I'll let this happen. I think maybe Lucien, if this whole Hybern theory is true, Lucien just lied to him, said Hybern demands that you release her for his purposes, and then he just like didn't tell him that,
Yeah.
Because he had an in because he was Hybern's emissary to Tamlin. Or just Tamlin's emissary to Hybern, and he had all the connections. Because that is weird that he found her so quick. Mm-hmm. She's supposed to be like a lost queen, right? Mm-hmm. And yeah, he finds her. Yeah.
Yep.
He doesn't leave till like after the High Lords meeting, which is like a couple weeks before the war.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
Lucien.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I want it to be that he's doing penance, though, because his betrayal is something he's already done.
Self-inflicted penance.
And that we're going to find out this betrayal because he's already done it and he's been trying to, like, undo this thing.
Oh, and that's the extent of the betrayal.
Yes. I'm hoping it's not, like, an active betrayal.
Yeah, or someone else can be inactive betrayal, sure.
More.
if it's Lucien, hopefully it's not more betrayal. Or it could be some other shit that he did from that time coming back to bite him. And yeah. Oh my god. Okay, wait. So, we think that when he says that you're not even trying to fake it anymore, and then Tamlin says, It was a mistake from the start. I can't summon it. Not after what my father did to their kind, to their lands. I won't follow in his footsteps. I won't be that sort of person. We originally think that this is, I don't want to seduce Feyre, blah, blah, blah. We're supposed to be thinking this is all about Feyre. But no, actually, Lucien is trying to get Tamlin to go to Hybern to deal with Amarantha right now. And
Yes.
that's what's motherfucker.
Because again, right, his dad didn't seduce humans. He went to war with them.
It's so upsetting.
And tried to take over, like, take over, whatever, right? Try to eradicate them. That's Hybern's goal. Amarantha, nowhere in her goal does she say anything about human realms. She doesn't give a shit. Hybern wants human realms. So if Tamlin's saying, I'm not going to be like my father, back off, is Lucien wanting him to join forces with Hybern to fight Amarantha, and the casualty of that war is going to be the humans? That's the price, because Hybern says, I'll fight her for you, but I want your border.
Yeah. And then that puts Lucien is the one at fault for Nesta and Elain.
Mm-hmm.
That's an insane theory. That shit's gonna, that's...
Mm-hmm. Also, Lucien has some High Lord energy in here, by the way. The next page says Lucien stepped up,
exposing his teeth.
Yeah, because he's like, watch your mouth, right?
Oh, Lucien... a pulsing kind of air hit me in the stomach.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Dude, that is... Wait, what is Tamlin? Does Tamlin know? And he just is like... Or does
maybe he says, don't
doing
push
his own
me.
thing? Maybe Tamlin thinks that he sent that pulse out because he's High Lord. And he doesn't... maybe, right?
I mean, or like maybe he just thinks it's magic, right? Like he knows that right, Cassian could probably push out some bullshit at Tamlin, right? He's not a High Lord yet.
But it does kind of seem like High Lord behavior.
Yeah. He at least steps up to him, right? Like,
which is funny because Lucien's the one who establishes that should be scared of High Lords, and that High Lords are different, and that they're scary and big guy thing.
Yep. A pulsing kind of air hit me in the stomach, and a metallic stench filled my nose. I couldn't see any magic, only feel it. I couldn't tell if that made it worse.
That is weird.
And then this is the part, right? You think I don't know what's happening on my own lands? What I've got to lose? What's lost already? Tamlin, what you hiding, B?
Second family.
What do you mean? Sorry, I sound like Jennifer Lawrence when she's on Hot Ones. What do you mean?
I never watched that one.
It's a very good one. Anyways. But yeah, like, it just seems. Don't act like I don't know what's going on in my own lands. Like, I don't know what there is to lose.
I mean, not much.
Well, okay, so, but if the argument is about Hybern, right? Then, like...
Maybe it's because the cost is Hybern allowing his armies to go there.
Yeah, where he's like, the Bogge and the Puka are here. Like, the Amarantha's fucking things are like, the borders are already breaking down. The realms between High and Lesser Feyre are already breaking down. Yada, yada, yada. Don't act like I don't know that this is happening. Of course I know it's happening. But I also know what there is to lose and what's already been lost. And I don't want to break the wall and doom the humans to that fate. And Lucien is saying, that's stupid. We need to worry about ourselves. We need to fight Amarantha. And if the human realms are what pays for it, then so be it.
Lucien.
Which, I mean, it's kind of, it's not uncharacteristic of him, right? Like, Lucien's not a big fan of humans. What's the fuck does he have?
Yeah, he doesn't have any
like,
and he wasn't around for the war. He doesn't remember like how bad it was.
And like, I don't think it's a hatred. I think that it's like really is like the lesser of two evils, where he's like, Hybern can put us back together, and if the human realms get like, because I don't know that he thinks that like Hybern's gonna eradicate fucking all of humans. Yeah. He's just like, look, Hybern wants to take the land back. Great. So humans will go back to being whatever the fuck they were before. They'll still survive. It'll still be here. And we won't have Amarantha. You want to protect human lands that are being used for nothing because there's no magic, and let Amarantha ruin us? Like, everybody's going to be fucked. You're going to ruin everything. This is not about Feyre.
I don't like it.
At all.
I think you're right, though. I think, yeah. Oh, man.
Well, I think you're right. You're the one who came up with the Hybern thing. But yeah, no,
But,
I just...
you know, it's actually a great example of this kind of conversation producing things, because I didn't think that before. You said some shit, and then I go, ding, ding. No, no, no.
Uh-huh.
Ugh.
And then this right here, where we're supposed to think, right, that Tamlin doesn't want to do whatever it is that he needs to do with Feyre. And so then when Lucien says, I'm unavailable today, he'll go with you, and Tamlin gives him a stupid look of disdain, we're supposed to think it's because Tamlin doesn't want to seduce Feyre. That's not what this is.
No, he's like, fine.
Lucien is being a smartass, which is absolutely characteristic of Lucien. Yes. And he goes, I'm unavailable today.
Fine,
he'll go with you.
Tamlin. Here you go.
Yeah, go. Yeah. You want to try it your way? Fucking go. Have at her. Go on a little hunt. Have fun. I'm unavailable.
Ew, does that make Tamlin the good guy? Ew.
No, Tamlin's still a lazy piece of shit.
You know, actually, maybe that's why he's even so mad at Lucien later, because he is like, dude, you were the one who did this. I took the heat. People think that I went to Hybern because my dad was connected, but it was your fucking idea, and I took the blame for it. Because it says he's, like, so vicious to him, and, like, Lucien's, like, terrified of him, and, like...
Yeah. And that's how we get a Tamlin fucking redemption arc, is that we find out that all of the Hybern shit was Lucien's idea. And that Tamlin was trying to protect his friend because his friend is not a High Lord. And that he can take it.
I don't like it.
I don't like it either, but it works with what's actually on the page.
Yeah, no, it actually really, that's why it's so haunting, because it works so well.
Yeah. And it makes more sense that that Lucien is being a smartass here, and he's like, he'll go with you. And it's not about him being like pushing her at him and being like, go, do it, seduce her, make it happen, break the curse. He's just like, fine, you want to do it your way?
Yeah.
Go have fun. Go play house, because that's what's gonna work. We have a viable army who's willing to go against Amarantha, and this is how you want to try to do this? You want to try to get this girl to fall in love with you in the next 3 months. And it's gonna, quote, break the curse, as opposed to a solid, willing army.
Yeah.
Logically speaking, Lucien's not in the wrong.
No. Yeah, well, and that's why he's like Grindelwald, like, greater good.
Yeah.
Type shit. Yeah. And,
because I might be Lucien at that point, right? To
be
like, hey, we have an ally who's willing to fucking use their resources. And you're like, yeah, but he wants, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just an asshole. And
I don't think you would. I mean, lots of people, if you can be a Lucien, lots of people can be a Lucien. It's just one of those things, like, you just miscalculate, you don't understand the depth.
I mean, these kinds of decisions are made all the time. For better, for worse, this is made all the time. And when you have something like a curse that it weighs on the precarious nature of magic, right?
You're like, I'm not trusting that.
Right? Like, and have you met her? She's so fucking stubborn, and it's taken you this long.
Well, and Amarantha probably put some fucking trick in it anyway. I think she did end up fucking it over, too.
Yeah. And he's like, why are we trying to... Don't fight fire with fire, right? Like, don't fight her with her own little bullshit, like, curse shit. Let's just attack her. Like, everyone because that's the other thing. She has an army underneath the mountain that is against her. Everyone who's under the mountain is not loyal to her. In fact, there's more people under the mountain who are disloyal to her. So if you gave them hope of another person with someone else's army who was willing to start the fight and help win the fight, every single one of those people within her own court who hate her would have the courage to fight back. And we can fight her from within and outside. But you want to play love.
And you know what? That would also work, because Lucien's kind of like, whatever, standoffish. But when does he become nice guy? when they're all under the mountain, there's no escaping, there's no other choice, you can't go to Hybern. And now he's like, let me help Feyre, let me do this, let me heal your whatever.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, okay, he's all in on this solution because it's the only one left.
Yep. Because now Feyre has to survive because we don't have Hybern anymore, which means that all of the loyalty that has been built up between Feyre and Lucien is a lie.
A lie. And that's the betrayal.
Yep. Yep. I don't think it's unredeemable. And I think that if this is the case, I think that Lucien is already trying to do the things to redeem himself and to have penance. So that when it comes to the surface that this was really all of his fault and Tamlin was not on the side of Hybern and didn't do these things and I sold your sisters out and I did all the things.
He still locked her in a house, but yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
But, right, when he's like, I also had a role to play in this in a way that you have not, whatever, or when something comes to bite him in the ass. And then he can also say yes, but for the last, however the fucking timeline works for Sarah J. Maas, because it's a very confusing timeline, right? Since Solstice, I've been trying to do my best to be good and do right by you and by your court. Because do we consider him part of the inner circle now?
No, I think inner circle always refers to just Feyre, Rhys, Cassian, Amren, Azriel, more.
But he's definitely on the outer circle of the inner circle. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's an emissary.
Close.
He's an emissary for the Night Court now.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder if Rhys can see that shit.
I don't know. Interesting.
The only next things I have are for the last scene with them walking.
Oh, I have I just made a note of roses, right? She says that
soft breeze laced with the scent of roses.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Wait, did he? Oh, I had a question here.
God, another question. I'll fuck you up.
No, it's not, and I don't. I mean, maybe it's nothing. But when he says you've been going for hunts, but you really don't have any interest in hunting, no wonder you two have never caught anything. I wonder if there's been like a question of like, what the fuck have you guys been doing out there?
Oh yeah, because it kind of makes it sound like you've been fucking, you've been boinking in the woods.
Well, and here's the thing: clearly, Lucien doesn't think that that's the viable option. So maybe he's like,
I want to fuck Feyre.
I've been fucking Feyre. You go to Hybern. That's the right one. And like, but that would make him more suspicious, right? Because Tamlin's like, already you're telling me not to go through with this stuff with her. You're pushing me towards Hybern to do something I don't want to do. And at the same time, y'all been hanging out for a long time, not bringing no bunnies home. It's just, yeah, I don't know. Anyways, it just seems very like, no wonder you guys haven't been blah, 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 blah. Like, so what do you think that they've been doing? They've been going on hunts for weeks now and they haven't brought anything home. You're just not going to fucking ask? Or do we just not get that conversation? Because Feyre doesn't get that conversation. But like, I was just like, oh, you little jealous bitch. Calm down.
That's what I thought. I thought he's just like, why aren't you having?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I underlined where like the Bogge is crafted to slow the healing of the Fae long enough to kill him, mostly because I had these questions about like why is it not healing before.
My note about that. Also, I will say the part where I was really getting abuser vibes is like where she said she's sort of considering like no trace of the hollow cold warrior of the night before. Like, isn't that the classic thing? Like, you're wondering which version of the person you're getting, and you're always trying to assess for that. So that reminded me of that. But then, okay, the Bogge's bite was crafted. By who? Who fucking why does he say crafted? Yes.
I have an idea.
You have an answer?
I have an idea.
Okay. Who crafted it?
In Throne of Glass, the king is crafting creatures. He's breeding creatures.
And how is he doing that?
No fucking clue. Oh, because he's breeding them with witches.
With witches? What? Wait, what do you mean?
He's breeding he's breeding something with witches, because remember when they go down into the mountain where the dragons are, she's like carrying the linen so she can figure out what's going on, and she goes into one of the rooms where one of the witches is birthing this fucking demon thing.
But birthing, wait, hold, a wyvern?
No, not a wyvern. It's the thing that chases Aelin and almost
Ilkin?
kills. Yes.
And is that because witches are like supposed to be like half Valg or something?
Because they keep talking about like her, like the big, like their biggest contribution or whatever, and like, yeah, they're birthing them.
Okay. I mean, I assumed that the Bogge was just like a demon. Like Crystallis was one kind of demon, Bogge's another. Like all the monsters are just forms of demons, you know, and Hunt would have a different strategy for each of them, and that's what I thought they were for a long time. But the crafted thing, I could just be like, he just said some shit. But I mean, have we heard of beings being crafted besides? Well, Hunt is crafted, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like Daglin can craft things. No, maybe, or the cauldron. I don't know.
Not see this. There we go. Well, also, this is a picture of the Ilkin. That looks like an ACOTAR too. But anyways, the Ilkin were created by Erwin, or the Valg, right? Because that's the king's name. Or that's
okay.
Right. Using word keys, so he could add extendable aerial troops to his armies.
Weird keys. Wait, did he use the keys is he pulling them from some other region, or is he creating them with the weird keys? No, because you're right. The keys can be wielded because that's Aelin wields it.
Yeah, I'm almost positive that they are born from witches because it like tears them apart. And oh no, sorry.
Okay.
He's gonna make Elain birth it.
Birth what?
Birth an Ilkin. That she's gonna be impregnated by a Valg and birth an Ilkin. That's what happens, because that's why she has to escape. Because her uncle dad person who fucked her foot up is like, you're gonna do for me what your name couldn't do. Or whatever. Because he keeps her in a tower, remember?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it could. I guess there's multiple ways to craft things, maybe, but it still seems weird that he said it crafted.
Yeah. Anyways, we'll look it up later. But yes, it does sound that that is weird. Also, I think that the Ilkin and the ACOTAR have very similar descriptions.
No, I think so too. Yeah, that shit, and yeah,
which also sounds a little similar to the demon that kills Danica.
The Crystallis. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we're gonna need somebody to fucking draw all these and see how like look at the exact descriptions and draw them all.
Has anyone ever taken care of you? Nope.
I will also. Where does he? Oh, that's on the next page. I will say before we get to that, the one thing I noticed is that on bottom of 109 it says he shook his head and his golden hair caught and held the morning light as if it were spun from the sun itself. And to me, I go, Reef is night. That's your one true love. This guy is the fucking opposite. He's the morning sun itself, the literal polar opposite of night. And so it's just another good case for
yep.
You know, and it's kind of a pretty moment. You're probably supposed to be like, but like, no. To me, I'm like, you're being associated with the opposite symbols. But yeah, that has anyone taking care of you? I feel like that's one of those who did this to you type beats. Like it feels like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think I thought that was nice. I was like, oh, okay, so he's like, he has a kind side who wants to take care of her is the implication. Now I'm like,
or he's so over Lucien bugging him about Hybern that he's like, cool, I'm gonna actually try to make her fall in love with me, because now I'm gonna prove to Lucien that was not the right choice.
Yeah, and that would make sense why he starts to do all this stuff, and
that he double downs on his decision to go with Feyre as the option to fight Amarantha than Hybern, because it's after that conversation that his tone shifts completely.
God damn.
Yep.
Fucker.
He has Aelin-style eyes, right? The amber in his green eyes was glowing.
Yes. Yeah. Wait, where is that exactly?
It's a little bit. It's still on 110.
Oh yeah. I'm curious. Are you ever going to use that knife? He's still. Yeah, I think we're supposed to read that as like maybe a laugh, like a little joking laugh. Yeah.
Well, and then right, so like, but like the amber in his green eyes was glowing. Perhaps not all traces of his beast warrior were gone.
Oh yeah. You're right.
Yeah.
But why? Why is he saying that when he's asking her about the knife? That seemed like to me like a little joke. Like, are you gonna fight me with your little knife? And then, but then he's like, she's sensing his beast warrior when he says that.
Yeah, I don't know.
The last thing I have is this moment where it says, he says her name. I'm an immortal. I have nothing but time, Feyre. He said my name with such intimacy, as if he weren't a creature capable of killing monsters made from nightmares. And I don't know. That's the one I was like, he's a creature? I guess he is a creature, but I don't know. It fits my hunt Tamlin theory.
But I also think it speaks to him leaning into being like, fuck you, Lucien, watch me.
Yes.
Watch me get her, because he's
now straying from the monster.
Yeah, well, and now he's saying her name with intimacy.
Yeah.
Now he's seducing her.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. And this, like, I mean, I don't know. I wrote, like, why are you so passive? Like, fucking do something. But when he's like, the force plaguing our lands and powers, that too will pass someday if we're cauldron blessed.
Yeah, maybe he's saying, like, if we're cauldron blessed, like, if you make it work, dear.
If you bless me with your heart, this will pass too. Be fine. I got time. I'm just here to make you love me. I'm not gonna start tearing down any mortal walls or throwing any bitches into cauldrons, because all I gotta do is make you love me. It's
I hate it.
I love this thought of hers where it says, if the borders between the courts were gone, though, as I'd heard Lucien say, if everything in Prythian was different and Tamlin had claimed, thanks to the blight, well, I didn't want to be caught up in some brutal war or revolution. Yet you walk right into it and are at the center of it. So I do love that she's like, I don't want any part of this nonsense.
Don't want to do
literally
that.
You're like, that's exactly what you are. Lucien's a dick. Lucien wants Hybern.
This is evil. It's gonna be hard not to read the rest of this book with this theory in mind.
Yes, I know.
Kill, do you think we're crazy? Did you hear that?
No, it makes too much sense. It's actually.
Could you hear that?
Yeah.
That? Well, at least we have a really good theory though, because we actually have like good textual evidence for it, and that's fun.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever heard anyone make this case either, ever.
Mm-mm.
Can you imagine? Okay, if we're right though,
we better get fucking followers and a couple of fucking ad revenues. That's all I'm saying.
We want one ad revenue for our correct theory, please. That's what we would like.
I want one ad revenue for every correct theory. They'd be like, well, good thing you got one.
Good thing you have 600 fucking theories. One of them's right.
Right. That's not original. You said someone else said this. That's not yours. They get your ad revenue.
Dude, it is so satisfying when you get something right. Like it's funny. I put it on my Quizilla back, which is like a defunct website now. But when Harry Potter 7 was coming out, I made this whole theory list, and I was right about a fuck ton of them.
Nice.
About Snape being like actually on Voldemort's team, but like not actually being totally evil, blah blah blah. Like I guessed some shit right on the money. I can't remember exactly.
Apparently that's how my grandmother was with Star Wars. That
she guessed it?
That she knew that Luke and Leia were brother and sister.
No.
Yeah.
That is so weird.
But I guess my mom was like, oh, I want Luke and Leia to get together. And I guess my grandma was like, gross, they're related.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine calling that?
Yeah, I don't know. It's in my blood to be a literary sleuth.
Yes, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, my kids they'll be like, my mom was the first one to come up with a theory about Lucien being evil. That's their legacy. Wow.
Okay, so that was chapter 12 and our crazy new combined theory of Lucien and Hybern. And next week we'll be doing chapter 13 and see what crazy unhinged theories we have for that.
See you then.